right, everybody. Thank you for coming back to the show. I am really stoked about this episode. First off, my name is Jared. I am the host of If You Give a Dad a podcast. I have two returning guests this week with me, and I've really enjoyed talking to them in the past and conversating with them over the last few weeks. So this one's going to be a ton of fun. But I have two of the people from Dragonball, Son of Trunks with me today. I have Vehan and I have Piccolo with me. I also have the Omega Ranger from Power Ranger Shattered Pass, and I have the Red Turbo Ranger. The red.
Take two. Take two.
Take two.
You got this. You got this.
I got this. Uh, I also have the Red Fusion Ranger from Bloodline Shattered. My gosh, I am all messed up here. Okay.
Take three.
Take three. We got this. All right. I'm going to start from the beginning. We're going to do that.
This is Colin and I in director mode now. We're just like,
I don't want to be nitpicky, but isn't it Red Fusion Space Ranger?
Red Fusion Space.
It's Red Fusion Space Ranger.
All right, okay. Cool. I'm glad we're doing this then. Yes,
yeah.
I'm glad we're doing this.
Well, I'm going to write that down so I can look at it. Fusion Space. Okay.
No, we appreciate being here, man. If y'all don't even know, our group chat is crazy. That's the love we have now. We're at that point.
Yeah. This is we were talking, and this one kind of came out of the blue. I was like, you guys just want to come on and talk about we're going to talk about Dragon Ball Son of Trunks tonight. And out of the blue are great conversations. And so I'm very excited to get on here and talk with you guys.
Let's do it.
So the first time we were actually going to do this, it was just going to be me and you, Colin. So this is kind of cool. The first time it didn't work out. Having DJ here now to kind of bring his side of everything into this as well. Got to say, this has been a lot of fun. I've rewatched episode 1 and 2 multiple times, and it's a blast. I love watching it. I love the story that you have going on. And first off, I want to talk about right at the beginning of episode 2, because that's the one that just recently came out. There is the fight scene that you have there, where you have your energy blasts and stuff. We saw a lot more of that happening in this episode, and so that was kind of cool seeing that come in right there at the start.
Yeah, I learned a lot from episode 1, what people want and what we can do, and even just rewatching and learning from Dragon Ball.
Yeah,
it was just like, I was kind of building the world in Ep 1. And Ep 2, I'm like, man, okay, I'm just going to start with me flying already and a big action scene and kind of show that Vehan was like from his first like quote unquote mission, he was getting stronger and stronger because there's something special within him. And that day we were actually filming the Fallout short on the same day.
Okay.
And it was a big, expensive, apocalyptic set.
Yeah.
And the only way we could really justify it, I was like, dude, you guys go film over here. I can go fight an android by the crashed helicopter.
Yeah.
The way it all worked out was it was a really fun scene, but it was like I think 109 degrees, so it was pretty tough out there.
Oh gosh, yeah, that's real rough. We get to see some of that weather here. So is it more of like a what they call dry heat over there when it comes to?
Oh yeah.
Is it? Yeah, we get all the humidity here, so when it hits 100 degrees, it feels like it's 115. But yeah, I totally get that. When it comes to finding a new set, and how do you guys go about on finding these different places that you're doing this at?
Well, DJ has a few really good secret spots that we've kind of just mixed and matched. Do you want to talk about the dam, or are you still traumatized?
No, honestly, what's really cool about it is, and we said this in the group chat, oh, I said it for sure, Colin and I freakishly work really well together. Like, there's times where we like look at each other like, what's happening here? Like, we that close? What's happening here? No, but to that point is like, in terms of like the exchanges, the mixing and matching, there's things he did for, Reverse Flash Origins and things like that. There's creations I've done with other content creators or things I've produced with other content creators. So obviously it starts with the ideas.
Yeah.
What are we trying to do and how can we pull it off?
Right.
I think a lot of it starts with that and, trying to be effective, efficient, and then also what's the budget,
Yeah. So you obviously both are big Dragon Ball Z fans. I mean, we all are here, I believe. So, what was your season? Did you start at the beginning, or where did you start at watching Dragon Ball Z?
I was a late comer. I think I was in like sixth or seventh grade, so I think that was right leading into the Boo saga, if I'm correct. I'm not too sure. But
Okay.
I was a big Toonami guy, so I'd catch a little bit of this and that, but I never really got into it until I bought my first toy. And I
Yeah.
bought Mystic Gohan, and I was just like, I need to learn more about these people because all the toys were so cool. And I was a
Yeah.
big like toy kid back then. And then so, oh man, I watched probably everything out of order. And then when the internet was more available, I was a big God, help me hire DJ. The ones that had like emo music and it was just like anime and it wouldn't show you anything.
Wait, say that again?
So like you would get there's like a phrase for it. Anime music video. AMVs,
Oh,
AMVs.
AMV. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
So I was like I got my Gohan toy, got addicted. I was going to Blockbuster renting the VHSs of everything I could, but I was still out of order and on my dial-up internet PC, I'm watching AMVs of like Broly and I'm like, who's this guy? So mine was all over the place. And then as I got older, I did do like a deep dive and recap and stuff. And I've always loved Dragon Ball. I just watched out of order and know a lot from Budokai and Tenkaichi and stuff.
Yeah.
And then, man, when Superhero came out, and I would think I was just starting this job, I was like, "Oh my God, I love Dragon Ball. What am I doing? I got to do something." So mine's a big mixed bag, and I didn't really know what I want to do. I just know I wanted to do something, and you'll see in the credits like DJ Rivers, creative consultant, because I had so many questions. Luckily, DJ, I don't want to speak for you, DJ, but I think you did watch it in order, right? So you knew everything.
Embarrassingly, actually.
Yeah.
It's more than just the order. It's one of those things where, man, I grew up with the Japanese version.
Wow.
Oh, okay.
Like really before it even came to America. Like I'm the generation of watching anime become what it is here in America now, which is a super trip considering how mainstream it is. It's like comic book fans and now the MCU and now your girlfriend knows who Iron Man is. You're just like,
Yeah.
you don't even know the struggle. See, the first time was a groundbreaking thing. But no, so from the Japanese version, and I remember the first time one of my classmates from Taiwan brought a Dragon Ball Z VHS, like a VHS
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
class. And then all of us were on it. It was the BoJack movie. So I
Oh,
started with that. There used to be this international channel that used to exist, and I used to kind of keep up with all the Japanese versions. So from there to GT, I just had the advantage of growing up with it versus going back and like watching One Piece, like
Yeah.
from the beginning type of thing. It's a lot of content and it's a lot of legacy and it's a lot of, material to go through. So
Yeah.
that's not really, I don't know if that's a brag. It's more like, by the way, this is how my not non-existent life started and this is what I did with it.
Well, I mean, we have a saying with Original Geek, and it's, I was a geek before it was cool, and so it's one of those things, it becomes, and I'm not saying that, no, that's not a,
we can relate though.
yeah,
We,
it's,
No, dude, I'm actually laughing because did you just give OG a new meaning? Original geek?
so yeah.
Sick.
So I'm actually a part of a group. I'm the co-owner of Original Geek. It's an
the OG of OG, dude.
Yeah, and it's comic books and audio series. So I believe I've talked to you both about this a little bit and everything, but it's it was one of those things. Nick, my co-host, actually is the one who started it, and so he came up with the whole thing, and then we came up with shirts. We have shirts now. That's I was a geek before it was cool, all that stuff, and it's I remember watching, going back to what we were saying, what you're saying with the watching Dragon Ball Z and stuff. I remember I had a friend that lived down the road from me, and he would buy the VHS tapes and stuff. And I don't know if this was true or not, and maybe you guys can, tell me whether this was true or not. But the ones he had, he was like, "Oh, this is like the Japanese version here that it shows footage that they didn't show in the United States. Like it was still like they had the English dubs and everything, but it had extra footage. Like whenever Majin Buu, killed Bobbity and stuff. That wasn't something that they showed on Toonami, but it showed him pretty much punching his head off, in the VHS that we had. It shows Bobbity flipping somebody off, there, and it wasn't in, Toonami whenever you're watching it there.
Yep.
So
yeah,
okay.
It's gone through a couple of iterations. Eventually, Cartoon Network came up with the uncut stuff.
Yeah.
But man, first Dragon Ball was so censored. It wasn't even like those who know type of thing, because the dub, and this is what Colin has to deal with all the time. Like Colin would be asking me like a simple question, and then like my voice message is like freaking 5 minutes. Appreciate you. But the original dub was like the Ocean dub, and eventually it split off to like the Texas and Canada version.
Mm-hmm.
And we eventually got the Funimation American version, where they had two versions of uncensored and then uncut. But dude, the original was censored like crap. By the way, fun fact: no family flips the bird more than the Vegeta Brief family. Trunks, Oma, Vegeta, they be flying it. Put that out.
End up 3, DJ. I'll bet.
Yeah.
So you bring that up, and there's actually another anime that comes to mind that I don't think they had a moderator for it whenever they were doing the dubs. And I don't know if you've seen it or not, but Ghost Stories.
Yes.
Yeah. Good God, that is unhinged, but it's hilarious. So
you know that, Colin?
I'm gonna take a wild guess that it's that one where he's running on the track and he says something a little racist. Is that the one?
That's the one. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
Okay.
Yeah. I know that there was.
I know we've shared that video, or at least a couple of videos where like the kid is running. Am I frozen? I feel like I'm frozen.
No, you're moving.
You're moving now. Yeah.
Oh wait, you're frozen. Okay, whatever. Anyways, there's like one video of the kid running track, and then like his boy's like, "Imagine a big black man chasing you." He's like, "Oh," and he runs faster. I'm like, "What is going on?"
That's what I know.
Yeah.
That's cool.
The whole show is like that, and from what I hear, it was because they didn't have somebody kind of telling them what they could and couldn't say, and so they just kept going for it further and further as the show was going on.
That's the dream, baby. That's the dream.
So going back into what we're here to talk about and everything, there was a lot that happened in this episode, a lot of revelations that happened with this one. We got to see a new transformation in this one. And, it kind of hinted at what we found out at the very end of the episode and everything, because you could see the halo and everything. Where did this come about? The story for, where did you come up with this to where you kind of gave this little piece and then you knew that it was going to go on to this?
The haters, man. The haters were like, why do we care about a quarter Saiyan? And I was like, you're right. No, who cares about a quarter Saiyan? And I was like, okay, I got to make something special about this guy, like, even Gohan, half Saiyan, half human, but he's got, demon blood in him. So he's special, and in my head, again, that's what made him ascend or like create new forms and stuff. And then I had a theory with DJ where what if every half Saiyan had their own custom form,
Okay.
And then I realized that in order to make Vehan special or even like stand a chance against super androids, which I obviously took from GT, because I wanted to kind of make it different and special than what we've seen in Z, where the androids were already crazy powerful. But then the Super 17, I don't think got its flowers in GT. It's kind of like this, right? And I was like, man, but if I upgrade like all the old fan favorites, that could explain why they look different, why they have these powers, why they're so scary. And then so I did a bunch of research, and DJ, correct me if I'm wrong, but I hit you up and we just kind of talked about the angels and the powers and like God key and all these different like routes to go. And then it kind of clicked in my head. I'm like, okay, I don't need to have like an angel and Trunks making love or anything. It can just be kind of like a hint. And then I think one thing led to another, and the word celestial Saiyan was just like catchy to me. And I was
It is catchy.
DJ the whole time, and oh my God, DJ, I don't know if you remember this, but we were out of time at the in episode 1 at the hyperbolic time vault. And like we're out of time. I was like, dude, just cut it. We gotta go. And then you were like, what about the line about your mom? And I was like, oh man, we got to do that. So it almost didn't make it into Ep 1, but DJ was like, we got to do the line about your mom. And it
Yeah.
was that one thing, I think, was one take, and we knocked out. I think we even improvised a little bit. And then the next week, I had my, it's a little weird. I had my girlfriend at the time dress up as an angel, and we added the halo around for that quick flashback sequence.
Yep.
And you see like me struggling in that scene because I'm like, nothing, just a flash or something, because we were so out of time.
Yeah.
And that scene was like something that marketing wise was really cool because I could do that little screen grab of the angel, and they're like, all right, so Vehan is, part sand, part human, part angel. And then when it came time to Ep 2, I realized I'm only going to do 3 episodes. I got to speed this up, but I also don't want to defeat Super 17 already. So
Right.
him walking into the future and seeing it, it was such a transition from how scary he was in Ep 1, where we literally like instant transmissioned away. We were scared. And
Right.
then for you to show what's going to become a Vihan, and then him dropping the name a Celestial Saiyan, it can't be. It felt like fast, but it felt important. But then
Right.
also, it wasn't like spoiled in the present, where Vihan still hasn't gone that to that point yet.
Yeah.
But like,
Yeah.
anyway, so it all started from the haters being like, "Why should we care about this bozo?" And then and then talking with DJ, and then also coming up with a name, a catchy name. You can't be like, I'm Angel Saiyan. Like
Yeah.
Celestial Saiyan was cool, and it was actually a throwback to Digimon. But
Okay.
yeah, and then I made that scene happen, and then now that's like kind of like what we're working toward. I'm sorry, I have like my IMs connected. That what we're working on towards Ep 3, where like we want Vihan to master Celestial Saiyan, defeat whoever he's up against, right? So
Uh-huh.
that's the story of how it all happened. But man, DJ, correct me if I'm wrong again. There's something, I think it might have been in Legends or Xenoverse or something, where Trunks did train in like the angel realm, right?
Um, Basically, a retcon in the current Dragon Ball Super manga is that, well, I don't know if it's a retcon, but basically they revealed in future Trunks' timeline, he was the one that was chosen to take the Z Saber out. So
Whoa.
technically, he got God training and their ergo God Ki. Now, the Dragon Ball Super anime didn't do anything with it. Like they barely acknowledge it. But the manga is so good, and I mean, unfortunately, it's one of those things. And big shout out to Sensei Akira Toriyama just for the world that we're able to love, right? Because we like this stuff. It's like Star Wars and Lucas. We like this stuff, right? But the manga is very different from current, well, what was Dragon Ball Super. So Trunks was training with it. So when Trunks pulls out, the Super Saiyan Rage form out of
Mhm.
nowhere with Zamasu, it made a little bit more sense in the manga.
Right.
Also, I also want to piggyback on one point. Colin and I have very different writing styles, but that's a good thing, right? But
Yeah.
because of that, we also care about the content that we're doing. So
Right.
it's not an automatic, hey, if the haters say one thing, Colin's just like, oh, I need to fix it for the haters. No, it's never about that. No, no, but I need to make that clear.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not at all because it's not the Sonic the Hedgehog movie effect where you're just like, oh God, what happened? Okay, we got to redo this entire design. It's not that, but it's also one of those things where we're paying attention, but also the story we want to tell, we want to make sure we're doing right by the source material and also taking it in an interesting direction. I just want to make that clear because
Yeah.
there is a lot of affection towards what we're doing, and again, a lot of different artistic integrity as well. I know I kind of like strayed. Also, last thing I want to say is in the beginning of the stream, for those watching the video version of this, if it looked like I was just like writing up a report, I was literally looking for a background to put in my freaking desktop. I'm just like, I need something interesting. Yeah, 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 live stream. Great. Fantastic. Special team cannon.
That's cool background. I was actually going to
It's
comment
cool.
on that,
I thought it was, appreciate you.
Yeah. So we talked about this a little bit whenever you were on the last episode, actually. So, man, you're on here back to back, actually, for the show. So that's pretty cool here. But when it comes to the way that you created your Piccolo character in the show, where did you draw the most inspiration from trying to come up with? Because you have your own bit about it as about it too, and so where did you draw most of your inspiration from?
Piccolo is Morpheus. Piccolo is
Yeah,
he's just that I don't want to say he's that typical character, but most shows we love have that very stoic, very low effort, but also aura farming in the side kind of guy. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah,
I think Chris Sabat does an amazing job with the English version. I think my voice suits it all right.
Yes.
And then the rest of it is just doing a version that I think he is in my head, or at least what I've picked up from, my years of being a fan of the Piccolo character.
Yeah.
And Colin's very clear about the type of inclusion he has or the role that he plays in
Hmm.
the series.
Yeah.
So you take all that and you get that performance. So a lot of slow speaking and a lot of my voice is deep, so I'm speaking very low. And cut.
So I actually don't know this, but how old is Piccolo at that time in the show?
Well, he's like junior. He's a junior, isn't he?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I think DJ's like, here we go.
No, it's not even that, but it's like one of those things where it doesn't get when it gets brought up, it's funny, but it also doesn't get brought up often. Where Piccolo is barely older than Gohan.
He's like 3 or 4, right? By
Yeah.
the boost.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
he's older than that. Well, you're talking about Piccolo, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in the beginning of Dragon Ball Z, which takes place like what 5 years after Dragon Ball. So let's say Piccolo was like 5 when he fought Goku originally, right? You
Okay.
put 5 years after that, which is the beginning of Z, which means Piccolo's technically only 10. So he's only technically only like 7 years older than Gohan.
All right.
But, but it's also like they try to retcon into like it's a Namekian thing. He's
Yeah.
not a demon. By the way, he's a plant slug thing. By the way, those plant slug things are actually demons, which is one thing I love about Dragon Ball Daima. The best thing about Dragon Ball Daima is they actually explain certain things that we kind of accepted that didn't make sense,
Yeah.
and I explained it and connected everything and made it make sense. Uh, it's the same thing as far as like why Goku in Dragon Ball, he looks like a 5-year-old, but he was actually 12 the whole time. But
Yeah.
he looked freaking 5 until he became a teenager. And then the last Dragon Ball superheroes with, Beast Gohan, they
Yeah.
explain like, oh, little Saiyans, they had a growth spurt when they're this age. I'm like, that's BS, but you know what? Why not?
So I do have a question for you though. Where does Piccolo like to go when he relaxes?
Hooters.
Planet Hammock.
Um,
That's good.
actually,
I'm,
after
I'm a dad. I'm a dad joke guy. That's good.
Oh yeah, I told you, you guys. I've got a few of these on here, so
Oh, good.
you got to work them in though. So, um, we actually got to meet some new characters in this episode as well. We got to see Pan at the end. Um, finding these people to play these parts. How hard was it finding these actors to play these? How long of a process was that?
Ep one was really hard because no one believed in it except for my boy here. But it was really hard to get people on board for a live action Dragon Ball.
Yeah.
I'm very blessed where I have some, my resume isn't empty. I've got a few hits under my belt for things I've created with an amazing team, of course.
Right.
But like I was kind of running with some different things, and then I kind of just went balls to the wall with Son of Trunks Ep 1. And then the trailer did okay, and then the hype was kind of there, and then we got original voice actors to come back, and then
Yeah.
people started taking me a little more seriously.
Yeah.
But no, it was really hard Ep 1. I'm going to be really honest, and luckily, we've done Power Rangers, we've done Reverse Flash, we've done Fight Series. I dipped my toe into anime with Digimon and Metabots and Shaman King, and at least people were like, well, this guy's not just some bozo trying to do it because he wants to.
Right.
I was doing it because I love Dragon Ball, and before I get too old, I want to kind of give my love letter to Akira and the world of Dragon Ball.
Yeah.
So Ep 1 was hard. Ep 2 was not that hard. It was more like, wow, Ep 1 has this many views, and I've seen you at the screenings, and it's cool to see a big poster of yourself, like whatever they're into.
Yeah.
So kind of what I was like, meet someone. Hannah's a perfect example. Hannah was a cosplay guest at Anime Las Vegas, and I just kind of put the idea out there, and she's like, I would love that. And then so I created a character. Sienna plays music at our cons, and she was just super nice to me. And I was like, man, I need another legacy character. And then I had the idea for Pan.
Yeah.
Originally, it was going to be Goten, and DJ and I bounced a lot of ideas off each other about that, but it just didn't work out with the actor.
Yeah.
And then casted her, but for Ep 2 it was a lot easier than Ep 1 because you have to have something to show people. And luckily Ep 1 was doing well, and they're like, no one's like delusional. We're doing the best. We're doing the best that we can with what we got, and there are some cool opportunities and cool moments where you're just like, "Hey, I get to fly on a green screen," that kind of thing.
Yeah.
DJ's, I don't know if you know this story. I made a birthday wish, and he became my Piccolo. Uh, the true story. I was like, for my birthday, I wish he'd be Piccolo. But Ep 1 was tough, and then Ep 2 was a lot easier. And I'm hoping, like, whatever the plans are for Ep 3, I haven't written it yet. I hope that that momentum keeps going and we get to grow and get, talented, passionate people that want to be a part of the show.
Right. Right.
Mind if I add on to that real quick?
Sure. Yeah.
Not acknowledging how big of a hurdle Colin had to like overcome because of this. We're not just talking about taking an IP and taking a shot at it. We're talking about taking an IP that has been attempted in live action
Yeah.
and hasn't always had the best track record. The most
Right.
official version of Dragon Ball live action, unfortunately, is number one or at least top three in anime adaptations that probably, we
Yeah.
know what it is.
Right.
Dragon Ball Evolution is what it is.
Right.
So not only taking on a big undertaking, it's like literally how do we make people believers again?
Yeah.
So I want to make that clear as far as giving the kudos and the ambition that
Yeah.
went behind the concept of like Son of Trunks. And that's not me just like blowing smoke. That's being real.
Right.
Thank
Right.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Ben.
Yeah. I'm gonna go off of what you just said there, and we did have the one movie, when it came to Dragon Ball, and it was what it was. And so when I first came in to watch this first episode, I'm going to be honest, I was a little scared. And then I watched it and I was like, this is really good, you know? And, you being able to get past, you talked about the haters, and I know that you had a lot of people who weren't too keen on this whenever you first started. We talked about that in the episode a few weeks ago. And like you said, you overcame all that and you've produced something that it's awesome. It's great. I enjoy watching it. I look forward to seeing what's happening next. You have a storyline that's going to grab people's attention, that's going to keep their attention. And so, being able to do that in the face of all of that scrutiny, says a lot.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Not to get cliche, but it's one of those things where all the things you've been through in life kind of prepare you for what's next.
Right.
Man, Reverse Flash Origins, I used to like get my feelings hurt. And then Power Rangers was a lot of love, but a lot of, background stuff that I didn't really know how to deal with. And then going into this, I knew what I wanted to do. I knew that like I'm not gonna half-ass anything.
Yeah.
And I knew that I knew I wanted to make something special and an untold story, which I think, I mean, I preach this all the time. I think that's why fan films are so special. You tell untold stories. And so,
Right.
the haters, by then I was kind of like numb to it, and it was actually kind of funny, some of the comments. And then by the time it came out, I'm like, oh, okay. Well, that they really changed their tune. Or people that go hate immediately. And
Yeah.
I go, all right, well, I hope you gave it a chance. And
Yeah.
then over half the time, they're like, that wasn't that bad. And I'm like, I'll take it. I'm just glad you watched it. And then when
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
really watched it and still hated it, I get it. And I just go, all right, well, thank you for watching. And then they go, I didn't watch it. And I go, all right, well, I hope you do.
Yeah.
No. Okay, thanks for commenting. Like, I don't
Yeah.
know.
Hope you have a good day.
Yeah.
But no, I'm so glad you got into that because honestly, and this is a growth thing for all of us. Like Colin and I have like set rules, or at least like evolving rules, and one of them is killing with kindness.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
genuinely killing with kindness. Like it's so easy to drink the sauce and fall into that trap of fight them back or show resistance. And realistically, to his point, we want to do stuff while we're young enough, or at least while we're still capable. And we don't have time to invest in negativity. What we do
Right.
have time is to appreciate what we can appreciate. You're here commenting. Hey, thanks for taking the time.
Yeah.
Whoa, what is happening?
What's going on?
I don't know, like Zoom just disappeared and it's back. It never happened to me again. Apparently, I just need to like stay interesting for the whole stream. Anyways, but no, like the killing with kindness part, the comments and all that, like realistically,
Yeah.
it's not that we don't care. It's just that we stay grateful. We stay the course. We
Right.
thank you for your time. We appreciate your feedback.
Yeah. And I get that. I can kind of agree with that even with doing this, I mean, you're always going to have people that are going to hate what you're doing, no matter what you do. Always going to have somebody. And you've just got to look past that and just keep going. I've had plenty of people that have not liked what I'm doing here. And hey, thanks for trying it out. If it's not for you, that's cool. I even at a long time in my show, I would say at the end, whether you like it or hate it, just leave me some feedback, because, I can't grow what I'm doing here if I don't know if the people are enjoying it or not, and so still hearing bad feedback can also be a good thing sometimes too.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So you brought up a character and now it's got me thinking, and there's a couple things that I was thinking. One is there still a possibility of Goten showing up in the show?
Yeah, there's a possibility. I just, I lucked out with, I think we have a really amazing cast, and legacy characters are really hard to do, as
Right.
we know. And, DJ and I have been lucky with working with these legacy characters from the original actors from Power Rangers and,
Mm-hmm.
Different shows. If I'm going to do Goten, I need it to be right, and I need it to like really make sense.
Right.
And I was even texting DJ. I'm like, what should he wear? DJ, but no, I love that, and I love.
And then 5 minute voice message later.
DJ did a whole like fashion show slideshow of it. No, I was kidding.
What you need to send that to the group.
Yeah, it was more along the lines of like, this is what I thought it should be, and then it was just just two creators kind of bouncing back and forth. I would
Right.
love to have something like that, but I also like everything that we've done except for Piccolo, even though he's like 15 now or something. It's all like that next generation, which
Finally
is
a teenager.
yeah, like he, even Pan,
Yeah.
Vehan, it's all like that next generation. So
Yeah.
I kind of accidentally worked out. But man, if there was some flashback sequence or something with Goten and Vehan dealing with the death of Trunks, that'd be really cool. But
Yeah.
I'm not gonna hold my breath for it. It kind of worked out in a way where like I have this vision in my head where Piccolo's up here and the new Z fighters are here, and
Right.
it's like a big like team poster. So I want to work on that too. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm not gonna say no because there's time travel, there's different dimensions, there's different universes,
Yes.
there's so many different ways to do it.
Yeah.
Like even like that scene in Ep 1 where it was Gohan from the neck down handing the sword
Yes.
to little Vihan, to kid
Uh-huh.
Vihan.
Yep.
That's like the kind of things that I love putting in here where only the fans that know all the intricacies of these stories, of these characters, they'll be like, that's cool. I really appreciate it that he did that.
Yeah.
So sorry, long answer, but I would love to have an older Goten, but
Yeah.
I think it kind of worked out where we are trying to make the audience care about this next generation.
Right. So I guess that kind of answers my next question, but I know as the series went on, Piccolo fought less and less. You know, are we going to see Piccolo fight in this series at all, or is he
Not
just going to be the
right?
mentor?
Not during the summer. We got to get him in some AC if he's gonna move. No, I mean, I was so happy, like having Piccolo there, and you can see pictures, BTS. I'm like fighting a smile while talking to DJ as Piccolo. But for Ep 2, it was so hot, and I think I only had one set, and it was outside. Like
Yeah.
it just didn't make sense to have Piccolo come back.
Right.
But man, like thinking about it, if I can get if I the practicality of it all, right? We
Yeah.
would need to be in makeup. We need him in an air conditioned place, and we would need him like comfortable and fighting with all that stuff on. It's
Right.
gonna be hard, but I
Right.
would love to even if it's just like beam here, like not so
Yeah.
not like the TK versus 100 Crybot fight scene in Bloodline, but like more like badass. I would love to do that, but I really do worry about the makeup, the timing, the sets, everything like that. But absolutely, and I'm sure DJ would love to throw a special beam cannon at someone, right?
I mean, he's got it right behind him right now.
You didn't think this was an Easter egg? Come on. Uh, but no, I think to Colin's point, I think for him it just needs to make sense always first.
Yeah.
And I'm always ready to throw down. I mean, this is the stuff we love to do, and you
Right.
know, I feel like a special beam cannon has to happen at some point. But
Yeah.
yeah, no.
All
Yeah,
right.
we'll do it in my house. Just blast the AC, and we'll get it. We'll get it done.
I also want to give a quick shout out to Ivan who did
Yeah.
the makeup for Piccolo. I mean, professional great stuff, man. I mean, the process is relatively quick considering, he
Yeah.
turned me green and I had antennas, or I had like the ears and stuff like that.
Here's the
And
brow, and
the
then you're
brow, yes, 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 yes. So big shout out to Ivan and his lady. Quality grade makeup artists for sure.
Right on.
yes. We love them. They're great. And then I also like, it's funny we do all these, but as showrunners, for lack of a better term, because we have a lot of hats, it is a really, really good feeling when someone that you brought in is proud of what they've done and rep it. Like I
Yeah.
think a picture of him, Selena, and DJ in the middle as Piccolo was like shared around, and they were like proud of what they've done, proud of the project. And that's, I mean, I don't want to like get heavy or anything, but that should be the norm, right? Be proud of what you've done, be proud of what you've created, proud of this. And it was
Absolutely.
them like really rep what they've done. And if you think about it, DJ is like their art. It's their landscape that they did it on. And
Yeah.
I'm there like smirking the whole scene, even though I'm like, where have you been? And I'm like,
We've had a couple of those. We've had a couple of those moments. Not to deviate too far, but like for instance, the first time he and I suited up for Shattered Past, we
Yeah.
kept looking at each other like, "Dude, we're doing this! Oh my god!" Because of Power Rangers stick acting, we're like,
Yeah.
I think it was like one take specifically where we just didn't respond or do our dialogue because, oh, sorry, I was just staring at you being a Power Ranger. Sorry. Reset. Back to one. Back to one. Thank you.
That's
yeah,
great.
yeah, that was epic. That's a
Also,
stuff you never forget.
Also, I want to add on just a couple, clearly just what I'm doing all the time, just adding on. But no, I agree with Colin in the sense of like, yeah, it would be nice if that was the norm, but it's also, we work with professionals
Right.
and professionals have different levels of artistry investment, right?
Yeah.
So no one's ever, and I mean this affectionately, no one's ever going to care as much as the creators, probably. And if you
Right.
do have care, you're going to care about it in your specific way. We would love everyone to like live, breathe, and whatever the content. So it is a gift when people are just as invested or just as, excited. But
Yeah.
we don't make projections of like expectations in terms of like you need to care about this as much as I do. No, but it is a gift when it happens.
Right.
Because some are job to job. Some treat it as, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like literally, like, okay, I'm being booked for something. Cool. Let me do the best I can and on to the next one.
Yeah.
But at the very minimum, that it's and not for Son of Trunks by no means, but
Yeah.
it's the ones that are just like, let's just get this over with. I think that's where we're trying to get away from.
Right.
And that does exist as well, and that's totally okay.
Yeah.
But ones with the good vibes, bring the artistry, and
Yeah.
when they give a crap to,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's a win.
For sure. For sure. Going back to one thing that you were that you guys were talking about just a second ago, when you're talking about Shattered Past, you could see it on your faces how excited you guys were to be able to do that, and you can see it again even in Bloodline whenever you do it for the first time on Bloodline as well, DJ. And it's great, because I'm excited watching it, and seeing you guys get excited about it as you're filming this was a lot of fun. And going off of that as well, also the back and forth between you two whenever you're on screen together, you can see the chemistry there. You can see that there's a friendship there whenever you guys are talking to each other. Being able to even, ad lib dialogue for some of this stuff, you can see it there. And it's fun to be able, knowing you guys now and going back and watching that, it's a lot of fun to see that.
Yeah, I think some of our best lines were ad-libbed, and we, like DJ says, we always respect each other's scripts and everything, but I think we also encourage each other because we do know these characters, we played them for a while. And
Right.
also I think one of the things that we say is, can I try something? Can I try something? Right?
Yeah.
And we go for it, and there's always that. And we trust the editing process, but It's always funny to see what makes it and what doesn't, you know. But
Yeah.
I thank you for saying all that, Jared. I appreciate it. But I think DJ and I both feel the same way, where it's fun being Colin and DJ, but there
Right.
is a weird bond that you get when you have to, as an actor, take yourself out of your real self and be someone else and have
Right.
that bond with someone else doing the same exact thing. And it's
Right.
really hard to explain until you've been through it. But like even down to you're like, I'm not Colin anymore, I'm not DJ anymore. And
Yeah.
you bond as a honestly like a different personality.
Yeah.
And when it does well, when it goes well, and when it's like there naturally, it does transfer into real life. And
Right.
also same when it doesn't. Reverse Flash Origins,
Yeah.
me and the Flash guy, we didn't really get along in Fantasyland or in real land, but it kind of it like drove the story and you know like it can really go either way.
Yeah.
But thank you for saying that because I feel the exact same way and it is so fun to just kind of like ad lib with your friend, but it's not the real version of either of you. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
Just crazy. Acting's nuts if you really take a step back and look at
It is for sure.
The character version of the relationship versus the reality version of the relationship.
Yeah.
And if you don't mind if I tell a couple of stories, like for instance, Shattered Past, one day I'll never forget is like, for instance, the solidification of the time trio. That was just such a dope day because I felt like we had such a cadence as far as, and oftentimes when Colin suggests something, he actually says, I feel like Sam would do this.
Yeah.
Like I felt like Sam would do that. So
Yeah.
with the time trio story, it was probably one of the first times Dave, Colin, and I bounced off of each other. It was the cave scene in episode three,
it.
four. So yeah, that entire like we had the script, we had the basis, but even like the motivation, Landon, played by big homie Dave, shout out to Dave.
Yeah.
Uh, he came with a little resentment more from words for TK because he's this guy he doesn't trust. And then Sam, being him, is like, you know what? No, let's listen to him.
Right.
Script was the script, but that energy was that energy. And even like little details and like Bloodline, for big a little bit of a peek to episode 3. He mentions like, you know what, Sam does wield his saber backhand sometimes, so maybe we should do some of the slices this way as
Yeah.
opposed to that. So this like it's the details that really that make us smile because oftentimes we are like I feel like he would do this, and then we talk about it, and when it makes sense, and when it doesn't, it doesn't.
Right. It's interesting to see that there's a mindset like that. And whenever I was in high school, I took drama. I was in competitive drama. I did forensics and all that stuff, and did like improv. And seeing people and their methods of getting into character and realizing that they have this whole person that they have to turn into, that they have to change to become, you know. And I know there are actors who go full on method acting and become this character for months at a time, and I don't understand how somebody can do that, but it's interesting to see, but I know that can play if you get too involved in a role, it can play a toll on your psyche even at sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think I've ever gone that deep into a role.
Yeah.
But I do know where like the more dramatic stuff I used to do, like Reverse Flash Origins, I had to like watch my love interest die for like
Yeah.
6 hours, and I was really sad after. I was like,
Yeah.
Like somebody yell cut now. I have my own opinion about method acting, and there's no disrespect to the craft, but there's also been a lot more current studies as far as what's too far.
Yeah.
Because I'm about to say this, I'm probably never going to work with Jared Leto, but I respect the man as an artist, but
Yeah.
maybe don't take it too far where you can get a lawsuit. That's all I'm
Right.
saying.
Right.
And then you have somebody by who played Bane, amazing actor, freaking
Tom Hardy.
Tom Hardy. Yeah.
Hardy, right?
Yeah.
I think he's gone on the record saying, no, that's stupid. You don't do that. You know what I mean? You're an actor, perform, be believable, be the part, but don't transform.
Right.
Don't let that be your excuse to be like, hey, now I'm this psychopath. I mean, there's a line. To me, there's a line. I mean, no disrespect to method, but also that's not a pass. That's not a hall pass.
Yeah.
And I know what interview you're talking about, DJ, and that it was an interviewer that asked him about method acting, and he was so like straightforward but polite about it. It was awesome. I know exactly that like moment where he was just like no, but also kind of like what you're saying. But it was so crazy because he goes like, have you seen him in Bronson? That guy went
Yeah.
nuts. Oh my gosh! And for him to probably be like, and cut, he's like, can I get a water? He's just normal again, covered in. But no, I'm piling on where I know exactly what you're talking about, and the way he handled it was awesome. I loved it.
Tactful,
Yeah.
tactful, respectful, but it's also like, come on.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I know I heard some stories. I don't know, which ones are true or anything, but when it comes to like you said, Jared Leto, there were some things I think whenever he was wanting to play Joker that he did that was very out there. It's not okay. Some of the things that I've read. So, you don't need to do that.
Agreed.
Yeah.
So when you're filming scenes that is going to have a lot of like special effects in it and stuff, how do you go about marking for these and getting these in? Like, how do you know, like, okay, I need to do exactly this? And then they bring it in later? Do you actually throw something? Things like that. What happens in those whenever you're trying to make these scenes look as believable as possible before you even bring in the special effects?
Do you remember being a little kid and playing on the playground and you could kind of like see the imaginary world that you're playing in? Do you remember
Absolutely.
that?
Yes.
And
Yes.
then not to get heavy, but then one day it just disappears and you're like, what happened? Like my toys are just toys now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to go back to that version of yourself as a kid where you see them in your hands and you're throwing blasts and
Yeah.
you can fly, like you
Yeah.
really have to access that part of your brain that honestly just disappears as you get older. That day where you can't see your world anymore or imaginary world anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Magic.
I don't even want to think about that day because that's when like innocence is lost. But when I'm there, I can kind of like get like maybe 30% of what I used to be able to imagine.
Yeah.
And obviously talking with the VFX artist ahead of time. And then there are things where you have to adjust once you see the rough cut. But
Yeah.
man, it really is imagination and planning and just trying to pretend that you are shooting beams and you are flying away or you
Yeah.
are going Super Saiyan.
Right.
And I'm not a very good screamer at all, but for this role, I've had to scream
Yeah.
so much.
Yeah.
So I go to Shelton, but shout out Shelton, uh, director, editor, DP, also just a really good friend of ours. Um, I go, Shelton, I got probably like two good screams in me, and he'll go. But for my big screams, I go all out, just like when you're a little kid trying to go Super Saiyan for the first time. So
Yep.
I'd say it's like half imagination, half acting, and
Yeah.
then little sprinkles of like planning with the VFX artists.
No, I know for me, it's honestly, that's a great point, dude. It is the magic. It absolutely is the magic that eventually, I don't want to say dies, but you grow up,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, and tying it back to the acting thing, anytime someone says they can't act or they're not a good actor, like I always say this, if you've ever done a joke or told a story and you invoked a character voice, you can act.
Yeah.
A lot of times it is that. Like a lot of times we're like, as performers, we can get in our heads. The auditions process kind of sucks sometimes when you're in like the same room with like producers and it's like your second callback and things like that. It becomes like less about the acting, it's more about the accept me part.
Yeah.
So that's all technical stuff, script memorizing, no being off book, knowing your material, right?
Yeah.
But that make believe, like especially with Power Ranger stuff, you have to have that make believe to be able to move in spandex unnecessarily, and then we have to say yes with your entire helmet. There's a thing to it, but that's
Yeah.
complete make believe. And if you don't lean into that, then you'll be stiff. If you don't lean into that, then you deliver your dialogue as if you are reading the script.
Right.
There is a difference between saying, hey, we have to get to the command center now versus we have to get to the command center now.
Yeah.
Your breath for a reason. You know, it is a little bit of Johnny Young Bosch anime voice acting. It's a little bit CW breathy stuff. It's a little bit of Tom Cruise kind of being intense just because he's Tom Cruise, whisper stuff.
Yeah.
But it is that lean into that make believe that honestly is the freedom. You
Right.
know what I mean? Is it everyone's thing? No. Is it easy? No, not necessarily. But if
Right.
you are able to just, hey, make believe,
Yeah.
that's the spot. To connect it back to the VFX question, making it believable filming helps the VFX part, you know, it helps the process. Shattered Pass when Sam and TK are fighting Draken. That's a lot of us doing a lot of no, do it this way. Now it's over here. Oh, it's about to kill me. And but so how'd that look? I'm gonna punch the ground and then he's gonna grown ass man. Oh no, this is Saturday. What are you talking about? Beers later.
This is going to make a great clip, by the way.
Jared, you gotta cut to that scene while DJ's explaining it because he nailed it. He did
Yes.
all the moves. He did all of it. You gotta cut to that.
Is that reenacted? Damn.
Yeah. You did my
Yeah.
moves and your moves, and you're like, grown ass men. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, drinks later. Drinks later.
Yeah.
Later.
Yeah. Beer good. Yeah.
Okay.
So how many takes is it usually whenever you're trying to do like the special effects? Do you do, because I'm sure you do multiple takes of it.
Yeah, I mean, there's always coverage. I mean, not to get into the boring logistical parts of it, but
Right.
like a set rule that you do the wides, medium, close-ups, but usually with the VFX, you have to specifically give the VFX artist options to work with.
Yeah.
And then if there's extra time or you know you're not passing out in a helmet or tights, then you do some extra ones just in case.
Yeah.
No, like the only time we do one take is if it's amazingly perfect or if we're out of time on a set. That's
Right.
basically.
Yeah. Yeah. I got a question because I know we're all very close to the same age. We talked about this already. Did you guys remember the gloves that they came out with for the original Power Ranger series that had the little the
Yes.
button in the hand that would make like the chopping sound, and then like you put it together and it would do like the other effects and stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure my mom still has my blue Power Ranger ones at her house.
That's awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't keep any of my toys, so you get your hands on those, man. That's awesome.
Yeah. I wish I still had. I had the old metallic blue Power Ranger. He was my favorite back in the day. You know,
Are you a Billy guy?
I was a Billy guy. I wore glasses, you know, and so I was like, oh, I identified with him a lot, you know, because of that. And so, and a lot of times on the playground, they're like, oh, you wear glasses, you're the Blue Ranger. So, you know, but then I was like, you know what? He's freaking cool. He's smart. So I just kind of went with it.
Billy had the women, dude. Like, let's talk about it. Billy literally had the best track record of women. Go back and watch Grey Morphin. That dude went through them.
Yeah.
Just saying this once, man. I'm sorry, see, what were you gonna say, brother?
No, I'm agreeing with you. Like but I think looking back on that, we all had the one that we wanted to be, but Billy stood the test of time and even came back for Once and Always and for Cosmic Fury, and he was still a smart badass. He was great.
Yeah. 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 I actually got to meet him at a con last year. He was pretty cool. You know, got to talk to him pretty much every day. I went and got to talk to him. So that was a lot of fun doing that one. Love to get him on the show, talk to him about it. He was like, yeah, send me a message on Instagram. I haven't heard back yet, but I held hope that one day he will reach back out. So
I wouldn't take it personal, man.
Like, oh yeah, no, they're busy. You know, I get it. Yeah.
But also Instagram is like, it's a lot of goes to the other inbox.
Yes.
And
yeah.
a lot of like, okay, which of these messages are actually something that is like for me versus I love you. Do you have an OnlyFans? I got a couple of those seeds. It's like, hey, by the way, let me know when you do OnlyFans. I'm like, I'm not that dude. I'm not even that high. must be
yes, you are, baby. Yes, you are.
Thank you. See, you're a beautiful bastard yourself. So, dude, you have no idea. This is like half of our like messages to each other. So stupid.
This is wonderful. I love this. Yeah.
What was my point? Doesn't matter. Next question.
I lost my train of thought here. Oh, yes. So Oob is in this episode. And, I thought it was cool how you were able to bring him in and make it a point to where Dr. Giro had kind of made him an android as well. And then, I don't want to give too much away, but something happens at the end of episode 2 to where I'm just going to say it. We know not to trust Dr. Giro.
Yeah.
It's one of those things, you did what you had to do at the time, and so, but bringing Oob into this was kind of a cool dynamic to be able to bring in a character that also helped with what you needed, but also tie into the original series as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, and Brennan was a blessing. We originally he was just Android Z, and then
Yeah,
I didn't really know him that well, but he came to set. It was a long, hot shoot on a weird set with Dr. Giro.
yeah,
I had pitched the idea. I'm like, dude, what if you're actually Oob? It wasn't even like we were already filming, and I didn't like lock that idea down yet.
yeah,
And we're like 5 hours into shooting, and he goes, Colin, what if I'm Oob? And I go, Brennan, I said that to you already. He's like, oh. And I was like, are you down? He's like, I'm down. And again, I didn't have this shows how how I kind of navigate things. I didn't have the Piccolo scene mapped out. I didn't know what I was doing. I just knew I had to start and everything else would line up.
yeah,
And then so for Piccolo to be the one to recognize him and reveal that he's Oob, that
yeah,
was just like fanboy heaven for me. And then I'm there watching, like, what do you mean? And then by Ep 2, I liked Oob and Kiki together. I felt like Vehan was kind of the weird one out when us three were together.
mm-hmm.
When originally I thought it'd be cool if Goten's daughter and Trunks' son were to get together.
Right,
But they kind of kept connecting in different ways.
yeah,
And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna give them their own like storyline.
yeah,
And DJ, correct me if I'm wrong. I've said that like 100 times this one, but I think I was like, guys, we're out of time. I'm just gonna improv something. And then it was one last take, and I go, you two go after the last Dragon Ball. I'm going to go avenge my father. And that wasn't in the script at all, but I thought it was cool that they would go off and do their own thing while
yeah,
I go do my thing. And then I have that one last talk with DJ, with Piccolo. And then it's me flying. And that scene was supposed to be just me flying. But then I was like, man, I should go Super Saiyan. So everything kind of just worked out in its own way.
yeah,
And leading to Ep 2 with Oob, the original scene was supposed to be them getting the Dragon Ball and being like, all right, let's go find Vehan. But I was
yeah,
writing it and I'm like, this is boring. Like what? And I'm like, and also the like Android tech shouldn't have just gone away with after touching some key.
right,
And then I was like, also Brennan as a bad guy in the finale would be really cool too. Also, I can't fight Jiro because it was just an old man with some like robot hands, right? So
right,
it'd be
right,
Pro took over. Ooh, but anyway, so it all like kind of came to play like that, and then that scene happened, and he like goes up and goes like full android mode, shoves Kiki away and flies, and
yeah,
I was like, that just became like a full circle moment from Ep 1, where android, oob, android, and then now Vihan not only has to rally the team, kill these androids, get the Dragon Balls, blah, blah, blah. He also has to save like his friend because they spent what, a year in the hyperbolic time vault.
yeah,
So I just all like kind of added up, and then meanwhile, the whole time during production, Brennan and I started having a better relationship and friendship. So it was all just like a really, really happy accident, honestly, and I'm so glad it happened. And now that scene of me being like, "Ooh, what's wrong with you?" and he's just boom or whatever I decided to do. But yeah, sorry, I'm rambling, but it was just none of it was supposed to happen. And the way it did, I'm really, really happy with how it happened.
that's awesome. Yeah, I seeing that, I one other question that came up, because like you said, you can't fight Dr. Dro. He's just, uh, I mean, you could probably just punch him out with like, one punch and he'd be goner again. Yeah. Um, was there actually somebody in a suit that was playing Dr. Dro, or was that, how did that work?
Bless his heart, his name's Shane.
Yeah.
His son is Kid Vihan,
Okay.
and DJ and I have worked with Shane just kind of on random sets together, right? He was just kind of like extra hands,
Yeah.
and then Shattered Path.
He's a little bit more than extra hands. I mean, he definitely gets involved in the process. Not to cut in, it's just that sometimes he'll take over like AD responsibilities and reading and feeding us lines. So he's a big hand, put it that way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's a big hand and he has like really great awareness on set. So you can have
Yes.
him come and he'll do whatever job is needed.
Right.
Also just a really cool dude. We love him.
Yeah.
But his son is his name's Grayson and he played Kid Vehan in Son of Trunks.
Okay.
And I was like, hey man, can Grayson play, younger me? Yeah, of course. I have another favor of you. And I sent him a picture of like the like hands, the cloak, the big metal skull.
Yeah.
And he down. He didn't complain at all, but he was in the suit the whole time, just kind of like it was a beaten down like robot body.
Yeah.
And we had met DJ and I worked with Campbell Cooley from Power Rangers like past like 10 seasons, maybe more.
Right. Yeah.
He was so nice and kind, and we saw him at Morphicon, I think, and I hit him up to voice Giro, and so with Shane in the body and Giro voicing it, it was kind of this like creepy combo, but it all like led to this kind of like remember like I think his name was like Dr. Claw and Inspector Gadget.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that was the kind of vibe. And then I know I couldn't do anything. Like if you saw that dude not all messed up behind a table and he's outside, he's like, Vehan, come here. It would look so cheesy. But we
Yeah.
kept it super dark and like this. And I said, Shane, barely move at all. You're a broken body. And then now, so we had that and we had Giro. And then Giro and Piccolo have like kind of came into people's brains in Ep2. And
Yeah.
now for Rio on to go full circle where Piccolo's back. Giro is in Oob's body, that kind of thing to kind of connect it all together. But
Right.
yeah, and then again, another happy accident.
So yeah, I mean, there's been so many really cool things that you've been able to bring into this show, and so I am really excited to see what happens next with this. And I know you already said that you haven't started writing
I have
episode.
started.
You
I have
haven't.
started.
You have started writing episode 3. Okay. Do you have a timeline at all for when you would like to see this come out?
Well, the dream is for Anime Pasadena, which is November 8th and 9th.
Okay.
It was really fun to do a premiere there. DJ's been with me, I think, the past two, where
Oh,
we premiere either the episode or something new or like a first look or whatever. And it's
Yeah.
so fun to watch people watch what we made. And then it's really fun when it's like out and we're watching the views go up and people kind of recognize us or talk to us about it.
Yeah.
So, and it's also, it's not, we're not used to that in this digital age where we get to have an audience watch what we do. It kind of goes online and we hope it gets shares and views.
Yeah.
But like to be at the screening, I think the first time we like ran and watched it in the seats and like, whoa, check that out. So yeah, that's the goal. But man, filming in the summer is gonna be really tough. I still want to finish Shattered Past. If DJ needs me for Bloodline or anything, and then I've got some other ideas that I want to get going. But that's long answer is November 8th and 9th for Anime Pasadena and debut it there. And then also I can take a big relief because doing this, I haven't really finished anything. It kind of either dies out, people move away,
Yeah.
something happens behind the scenes, and I never really get to do my finale.
Yeah.
And so this one, I'm like, I'm going to keep it 3, and I'm going to do this finale no matter what. And so if that's my timeline, then I think we can do it, and also I'll have a big sigh of relief that we did do it.
There you go. There you go. So I just have a little bit more, and then I'll be getting you guys off of here and everything. I'm really enjoying this. This has been a lot of fun. One thing that came up in this episode, and it plays into the fact that you are a celestial Saiyan, is I believe there's going to be some time travel that might be happening here. And so, is that something that we're going to be seeing a lot of in episode 3?
I did a lot of research on time travel for this,
Yeah.
and there's so many different theories. There's so many different things like the the fact that the rings don't affect timelines, but then when you do time travel with like technology, it creates other timelines. But
Yeah.
then like the trunks that got killed by cells shouldn't exist because that trunk stayed, like all these different things.
Yeah.
I decided I'm not going to touch it anymore.
Okay.
I did the ring and we did it a way where he wouldn't affect the timeline other than him going like, oh, I don't want that to happen,
Yeah.
Spoiler, originally I thought it'd be really cool if Vehan defeated Super 17, took the ring and just fixed everything. But I'm like, that would open up a can of worms.
Yeah.
I think DJ might kill me if I So in fun ways like that, where it doesn't hurt things or create alternate dimensions and universes and timelines and stuff, I could see that, especially when it comes to cameos and Easter eggs.
Yeah.
But I don't want it to be a main plot line for Ep 3. I really wanted to just like get the the words out for Celestial Saiyan. And I
Right.
wanted Nico to be not as scary. Nico's our Super 17. Shout out Nico. He was so scary in Ep 1. I kind of want to take him down a notch in Ep 2, but also show how smart he is by recruiting 13.
Yeah.
So it was all kind of like that. But then as I was like, okay, I'll just time travel and like do whatever I want in Ep 3. And I'm watching these like videos of it breaking down every timeline through everything and all
Yeah.
the things that happened from different timelines.
Yeah.
I was like, I can't do this. So to answer your question, yes, in fun, cool Easter egg ways, or maybe like even when Nico puts the ring on, I put in all the different things that never made into the episode.
Yeah.
Like stuff like that I could see, but I
Yeah.
can't have Vehan save the whole timeline or
Right.
world by time
Right.
travel.
Right.
Too confusing. I don't really get it.
So you saying that there, I'm going to bring in another TV show that I watch a lot of, and that's Rick and Morty. Did you know that they were actually supposed to be they had thought about making it about time travel instead of having a portal to different universes? And in the first episode, I believe, if you look in the background, there is a box on the shelf, and it says time travel. And they're saying that we thought about it, but we just put it on the back shelf.
Yeah,
So
I think time's tricky. There's a lot of different theories and like how to write in.
yeah,
The Flash really cared at first, and
yeah,
then they're like, the timeline's malleable. Do whatever you want. So yeah, I think I made a conscious decision, especially with the finale, to not really mess with that
yeah,
unless it's like fun, cool Easter egg ways to get fans excited to see these different things.
right,
But I can't rely on it to save the whole world.
yeah, yeah.
Hey, don't say a show that kind of has comparisons to Back to the Future was almost going to be Back to the Future. That's crazy. Well, I mean, like
Yeah,
talking Rick and Morty. I mean,
right, right, yeah. Well, and there actually was like a YouTube version of it to where they actually were uh Doc and Marty, like, and that's actually kind of where it came from. um I went through this whole thing where I went down a rabbit hole when it came to that show because it's fun. I enjoy watching it, but there's a lot of Easter eggs in that show, and so there's a lot to go back and like look at. And it's one of those shows that I can watch it 3 times and find something new in there that I didn't see before.
Yep. I don't watch that show. Their voices drive me crazy, but I do appreciate it. And I love Dan Harmon too.
Yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, my wife doesn't like me watching that show because she gets annoyed by their voices. So I get
So,
it. Yeah. So do you guys have anything that's coming up that you guys want to bring up before I get you off of here?
Mr. DJ, would you like to go?
anything that I want to bring up.
Yeah.
Uh, yes, thank you to everybody who is part of this journey, yourself included, Jared. Like we enjoy making this stuff. It comes with, I mean, listen, the most valuable thing we never get back is time. And for those who take the time, make the time, use their time, it's all part of the journey.
Yeah.
So big shout out to everyone part of the journey,
Yeah.
whether you're passing by, leaving a comment, liking, sharing, talking about it. I mean, again, a single supporter. I have a hard time saying the word fan just because that's a weird thing for me.
Yeah. I
But
get that.
a single supporter is a single supporter you know, more than we can have.
Yeah.
So the fact that we actually have supporters and fans that like what we do and is part, and being able to add a little bit more to our geeky, lore, I think that's a gift. I truly do.
Yeah.
So uh, please continue to support Son of Trunks. Please continue to support Extended Universe, Shattered Past, Bloodline of the Grid. I mean, part of this journey is working with creatives and individuals that were able to. This is probably our ultimate like golden rule between Colin and I. We just want to do cool shit. We
Yeah.
just want to we just want to make cool shit.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, perfectly explained by DJ. I'm in the same boat where like I think I did this for a long time and no one watched, but I was just like happy to be doing this. Um, I also on the opposite side of things where like you can't really understand what's going on behind the scenes of everything because we don't broadcast it, right?
Right.
But you have to know if I won the lottery, I'm sure DJ and I would make a Shattered Past Bloodline movie, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's what a lot of people want, but also time is precious, and we did a lot of Power Rangers in a short amount of time. So I would just say be patient with us. We want to do it too, but we also are doing what we can with what we got and while we
Awesome.
can do it. So marketing brain mode, check out official Bloodline Creations on Instagram. Bloodline in general, I've filmed my scenes as far as I know, and Bloodline is awesome, and it's not gone. So just wait for that. Shattered Pass is awesome, and it's not gone. We did a full day of shooting before Morphicon and debuted new footage there. There's just a lot of different things going on behind the scenes that we can't really dive into.
Yeah.
On top of that, Son of Trunks will be my next focus after I get through Anime Riverside. There's some other projects that I'm working on that I'm not too sure of the future on without diving into it.
Okay.
Just know that I want to do the best I can and make the fans happy, make the viewers happy, and just stay patient with us. And also uh, likes, comments, and shares and things that just kind of show that you enjoy what we do helps more than you could possibly imagine. So be patient. Thanks for having our backs and get ready for some more awesome content because I bet DJ and I will be like Hugh Jackman at 90 still doing some cool 3D.
I like how you just like brought that comment in from probably I think it's my favorite out of the three of those movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He'll be doing this till he's 90. Yeah. Have it my way. That's me and DJ.
There you go. Yeah, and I'll
Actually,
be here to bring you guys on here and talk about everything that you got going on. So
you're talking about we're all doing it until we're 90. And I think
that's
Colin
right.
and I, like, we hit each other up like immediately, and we were just like, dude, the love letter of Deadpool and Wolverine. And we love that kind
Yeah.
of stuff. We
Yeah.
love letters because it is such a synergetic relationship between being a fan and content, and also not necessarily only placating to what fans want, but there is such a synergy in terms of our world build and how one affects the other.
Yeah.
So the fact that those movies matter, they always mattered, but
Right.
they really made it matter.
Right.
Sucker. He and I, not to speak for you, see, but like he and I are sucker for that type of love. You know what I mean? What you made matter. It's all
Yeah.
part of the bigger picture. And
Yeah.
that's something he preaches all the time, as far as just like you can tell some of the conversations we have where we just like talk and fortune cookie. But no, but for real, there's always a bigger picture.
Yeah.
So every little bit that adds to the whole, man. Love that stuff.
Yep. Yep.
So I have a question based off of that movie. There was a line that was said. One of my favorites. I freaking love Blade movies, all three of them. Even the third one, a lot of people hated that one. I freaking loved it. But whenever he said,
first successful Marvel movie. Just remember that.
yes,
First
yes,
successful Marvel movie. It was not
exactly,
Spider-Man, it was Blade.
yes, and I go back and rewatch those all the time. But he had a line in Deadpool and Wolverine, and where he said that there's only one Blade, and there's only ever going to be one Blade. Are we
Tough.
gonna, man? Are we gonna see him in another movie as Blade? Was that him saying that, or was that just a line from him?
I don't think so. I think that's a line to kind of poke fun at it because at that time during
Right?
filming that we still did have the Blade movie. Now the Blade movie's completely disappeared, but
Yeah,
not to ruin any Hollywood magic, but they want this. They want the money.
yeah,
So making
yeah,
Blade movies a no-brainer.
yeah.
Making it with Wesley Snipes is a big jump, especially with this big new era of Marvel. So I'm gonna
Right,
say at that point, it was like Deadpool to like kind of poke fun and be like, well, there is one coming without saying anything. But
right.
no, I don't think we're gonna see Wesley Snipes again as Blade.
Breaks my
I
heart.
um I feel like the that line and its significance can change and has been changing. I mean, the fact of the matter is, Thunderbolts at the time of this recording felt like good Marvel again to me. And I hate that meme where, not hate it, but it's funny to me where you have that meme where on the side of it you have like the movies, and then
Yeah.
on the side you like the MCU is dead, the MCU is back, the MCU is dead,
Yeah.
the MCU is back, and it's just like Guardians 3,
Yeah.
Doctor Strange 2, whatever the case is.
Yeah.
Thor Love and Thunder. But the fact that they canceled the Blade movie is interesting. You can tell there's certain pivots. Will we ever know the amount of pivots? Listen, as much as we're fans and we like for those who want the behind the scenes, we only get a fraction of the conversations, if that.
Yeah.
The stuff that gets out is the stuff that gets out. So even like the most knowledgeable person, unless you're in those rooms, in every conversation, in every text message, in every email, you don't know half of the it could have been this.
Yeah.
So every time you get a Marvel, by the way, fun fact number 928, he had a croissant as opposed to a bagel. Yeah, I'm sure he did.
Yeah.
So my point is like that significance of that line and the miracle that they're even pulling for Doomsday at this point. Some of the cast that's come back, all of the cast that's included so far are prolific actors. You know what I'm saying? And in some kind of capacity, I can imagine, Wesley Snipes coming back. Now, how prominent his role will be, that's different. But the fact that they even canceled Blade movie, I mean, they're slowly acknowledging like, well, the big one was, Captain America 4, where they acknowledge the big hand outside of the celestial from the Earth.
Yeah.
Blade was supposed to be very integrated with like, the what's the movie I'm thinking of with the Celestials? Freaking
Eternals.
Yeah.
So that slow incorporation, as far as it happened, but we're sprinkling it back to make it redeemable.
Right.
I mean, I can see that happening still. I think anything's possible at this point. I think there's a positive wave that's starting to happen if they consolidate their efforts and focus on quality over, hey, let's just have a whole bunch of things that might matter, but we're not invested in.
Yeah. Yeah. It still breaks my heart if they don't bring him back, because like I said, those are some of my favorite movies. And I even tried to get my son to watch one of them and he got bored. So I was like, man, come on now. This is good stuff. But I'll try again. I'll try again later.
I think it was a huge pull just to have Wesley Snipes do that part.
Yeah.
Considering they could play it off all they want, but I know people who worked on the set. Them two did not get along, dude. Like they did not. I mean, it's one thing to be like, "Oh, I heard this, I read this." Like, no, for a fact they didn't.
Yeah.
I love Wesley interviews now. It's just like, no, I mean, it wasn't that bad. I'm like,
I texted him. Yeah,
it was fine. I mean, people like to make this into that. This is it. You can tell your voice is getting high, bro. I don't know. but also, some of the jabs. It's just so. I don't know. It's a good time when you hear the lines where, I never liked you. You never did. I love that kind of stuff. That breaking up the fourth wall on that level of, okay, so you guys are acknowledging it. Fantastic.
Yeah.
I think anything's possible if he can come back to do a Deadpool movie. That's all I'm saying.
Right. Well, and Ryan Reynolds is good about, breaking that. Deadpool and Ryan Reynolds go hand in hand really well together and breaking that fourth wall, And the thing is going back and even watching movies like Waiting, that same character almost, except he's not, a mutant who's a merc, so but his personality and stuff is very much the same, even in that movie, I think.
Yeah. Are you trying to say Ryan Reynolds plays the same guy in every movie?
Whoa.
No. That's a level of disrespect. I don't think that could.
Yeah, I didn't say that. That's not what I was
feel
saying.
Like kind of doing it, man.
I'll say it.
I'm saying that he was meant to be Deadpool. Is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, that's what you meant to say.
Yeah, that's what I meant to say there.
I'm totally agree with you.
So we're like I said, we're about to get off of here, but I do have something for you guys. What does a Saiyan always put on their sandwich?
What?
The vegetables.
Mayo.
Mayo. Got it. That's awful.
That was dumb. I know. It's just dumb. Yep.
Disconnected.
Yeah. Blocked. Never going to talk to me again. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode because they ain't coming back now.
That might have been some secondhand cringe. I love me some cringe, but that might have been some secondhand, like,
yeah. I had one a few weeks ago that I did, and it was like that. And it's funny, the comments that you get online for those. Like, I had people telling me they were disappointed in me, just different things like that. It's funny. Yeah,
you should be ashamed of yourself. Somebody boo this man. No.
Oh yeah.
What was it? What was the comment? What was the dad joke?
Which one was that I did? It was the what do you call a donkey with 3 legs?
What?
A wonky. Yep. I see it. Hey. It's setting in right there. I can see it. Uh-huh.
I'm more into DJ's reaction.
Yeah, that is fun. And knock knock.
Oh no. Who's there?
Dragon Ball Z.
Dragon Ball Z.
Find out next time on Dragon Ball Z.
See, that's good. That's good.
Yeah,
that's solid. I like that one.
I'll leave off on that one. So,
low key though, I just felt like I was being dumb because I didn't get the mayo thing right away. I felt like I was being stupid. I'm like, Kamehameha. Is that a brand? I don't know. Like, got it. So I felt dumb. So that might have been my fault. I don't know.
No, it's a dumb joke. Just straight up. Yeah.
Appreciate you.
All right. Well, we're going to say bye here for now. I will talk to you guys a little bit after this recording. But thank you so much for coming on here and talking tonight. This has been a blast. I've been looking forward to this.
Thank you, Jared. It's always a blast with you.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having us, brother.
If you give a dad a podcast.